What do I do if other people, like my wife, are
Ooh.
telling me about the weeds, but I don't see them?
Listen.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Pastor's Hangover. My name is Melissa, and I get to chat with some pastors each week. And you know what? How cool is that? I've heard people tell me, I have so many questions. I wish I could just sit down and have coffee with a pastor. Well, now you can. You can submit your questions and sit down with us every week. So excited to chat with Pastor Hal Mayer,
Hello, hello.
Pastor Daryl Black,
What's up?
and Pastor Kristen Bonham. Welcome to
Hi.
the show.
Thanks. Thank you.
First time here.
First time here.
Why don't you tell everyone who you are, what you do here? And
I don't really know what I do here. No, I am the groups and events pastor. I lead Freedom Ministry with Pastor Cheryl. So that's what I do. Groups.
Pastor Kristen is also one of my personal heroes. I've been in her Freedom group for
3 years.
3 years, which means I needed a lot of help,
I'm like, I feel like
Yes.
that means it's not working. But no, I'm kidding.
which means she's not a good group leader.
Freedom is a journey. huh?
Freedom
It
is
is
a
a
journey,
journey.
and
It is.
I
It's not
have
a
received a lot
destination.
of it.
She's
So-
right in the middle of it.
No, I'm on the other
Oh,
side.
you're on the. Okay, I didn't know.
Now
you
I'm
were
Now
leading
she's actually
a
gonna be
Freedom group
leading.
this
Oh, well,
semester.
great.
Okay.
Melissa is
Awesome.
actually
So-
graduating to a Freedom Group leader this semester.
Hello.
That means
So-
she's a good coach. I'm just
All right.
defending my coach.
Just because freedom can be insider language, what is freedom and why does somebody need to be a part of it?
So freedom is uncovering the things that you believe about God that are not true, or that you believe about yourself, that we need to get back into. What does he say about us? How does he invite us into relationship with him?
Yeah.
And just removing those obstacles that our life situations, circumstances, experiences kind of tell us things that are not true about him. And so uncovering that and learning how to walk in a new way with
That's
him.
Mm-hmm.
So
good.
so really everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been teaching it, leading it, and receiving from it for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
So-
And it is something that all staff go through.
Yeah.
I've been through it.
Yeah.
Yep, I've been
It is
through
an
it.
awesome thing. And I'll just say this. I think when you hear about self-help and self-love and all those things,
Yeah.
people always go, oh, you gotta be able to love yourself before you can love somebody else. I said, the only way you can love yourself is that you see yourself the way God does.
Absolutely.
Because what you say about yourself changes every day.
Yep.
Sometimes I think I'm great, and other times I don't. But God always, who I am to God and His truth stays the same. So that's the only way to be able to move forward. So I love that.
Yeah, and I think too, just one more thing is that we receive messages all day, every day about what other people want to say about us,
Yes.
or you know what our circumstances are saying, or what the trials that we're going through are saying about God and about us. And so just regularly sitting in front of Him and living from that, what He says,
Yeah.
and how He designed us and how He created us to be in relationship with Him, and just strengthening that relationship. And that's really what freedom helps you do.
It's good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For me, I felt like it's cleared the gutter or the
Yeah.
phone line
Yeah,
between
yeah.
me and God. Like whatever,
open
you
up
know,
the communication.
whatever I've put in or life has put in or stuff has come in between, it's like totally cleared that out. So, and freedom goes right hand in hand with Pastor
Yeah.
Hal's message from this weekend, right?
Yes, it does.
Pastor
absolutely
Hal
does,
talked
yeah.
about Jehovah M. Kadesh. So go watch it on YouTube or Spotify. And
Side note, we got a song.
We got a song.
We got a song.
no way.
He
We did.
challenged.
I actually
because he was
said
Someone
that I was
wrote
gonna
you
give
a
it to Pastor
song?
Craig.
Yeah, the same day.
Wow. So in the message,
Yeah.
Pastor Hal
That's
made a
amazing.
note that Jehovah M. Kadesh, we're in this series called Hello, My Name Is, and we're talking about the names of God, how they reveal the character of God. And Jehovah Jireh was a previous week. And Jireh rhymes with a lot of things. And
Kind
it's
of.
popular, it's a stretch.
It's in
for
a
Hal.
lot of songs.
But it's in a lot of songs. And Jehovah M. Kadesh is not.
There's probably only 2 songs that I've ever heard in my whole life where someone says M. Kadesh, but it wasn't even to rhyme it. It was just in a list of
Yeah.
the names of God. And so he kind of put out the challenge. He actually
Yep.
challenged me to write
I
it,
did.
and I didn't.
I-
But
in your spare
Yeah,
time
so-
right
in my
now.
spare time, right?
We get a song Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And Bella Albano, I'm probably saying that wrong, but her and her dad, man, and she's got a voice.
Yeah.
And she sang, and it
Wow.
made sense. And I was like, but it was just a phone recording, so I don't want to play it. But I was like, dang,
Maybe
it
she'll
was
let
good.
us post
it was
it.
good. Maybe
Yeah.
we can get an actual recording.
That's
of that.
amazing.
But,
That's
Cool.
so cool.
Inspiring
thanks, Bella.
creativity.
Hey.
Look at you, Pastor
It's,
Hal.
anytime, I'll say this, anytime anybody does anything with our messages, it's like, that's exactly what you want, some sort of step forward.
Yeah.
You to actually think about it afterwards.
Yeah.
And so, but we're talking about sanctification, and sanctification really, I mean, first and foremost, it's what we do while we're here. It's
Yeah.
God slowly chipping away, removing the things that don't need
Yeah.
to be there, the lies, the beliefs, the things so that we can become more like Him. But I think the hardest thing about sanctification, and I think the one part that I really didn't harp on, that I was thinking about harping on, was just the fact that it's something we have to do,
Yeah.
and most of the time as Christians, we ask God to do it, but we don't want to play a part. I think I kind of talked about it. We pray for it.
Right.
But then we don't make the right decisions. We pray for the things. And it's like we want the rewards of sanctification, because nobody would say, I don't want to be more like Jesus. I don't think anybody would say that. But when it comes down to the hard decisions, forming the relationships around me, bringing in the accountability and all that, we just don't do it. And it's like any other habit in our life when we choose not to put the work in. And I think it's just one of those things that we go, God, I said it in the message, God, please renew my mind. Okay, He's going to play a part in that.
Yeah.
Right.
He's going to play a part in it, but we have to make the choice of choosing to think what He's wanting us to think on,
Yeah.
or focus on the things that He's wanting to focus on. That's why verse memorization, all that, is so important, because
good.
we play a part in the sanctification process. And so it is up to us in that. And I think that's the toughest part for a lot of people, is that realization that I have missed it. And so it's a little bit more of getting rid of our pride and going, this is something I need to do, but I also need God's help in it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think too, it requires us to do the hard thing.
Yes.
And so our flesh, I crave comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I want to eliminate and avoid and fix the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like, what's the fastest, easiest answer that's going to, and you talked about that in your message, that we try to ease our pain or answer that, thing that is like pressing right now.
Yeah.
And it's what's the quickest relief from this? What's the quickest way that I can feel better?
Yeah.
And many times that sanctification process, that, this big scary word, is just us yielding
Yeah.
and doing the thing that is harder in the moment, but is going to get us ultimately where we want to be.
Yeah.
But that we have to resist the fast answer. We have to resist the quick fix.
I mean, sanctification, like we covered, is not a happy, feel-good
No.
topic at all.
But that doesn't mean it can't be right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's change that.
Yeah.
Deal.
But I think the
Challenge.
reason it's not happy and feel good is we are so focused on the momentary loss that we forget about the joy on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I asked the question is, what wouldn't be better if you were more like Jesus? Like and that's the thing,
Yeah.
even when you look at the Christian life, what part of your life when you follow what God wants you to do wouldn't be better? It would be
Yeah.
better, but
Yeah.
in the moment, it's not as fun.
We just want
sometimes.
the sprinkle it
Yeah.
and it actually just happens.
Just
I'm more like
happen right away.
Jesus. Look
Yes.
it. I'm just more like
Exactly.
Jesus.
And just a reminder, he died on the cross.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
he
true.
went through some stuff.
He went through a lot of stuff too, but yeah.
But is it also possible that if people are honest, they don't want to be more like Jesus?
Ooh.
Oh, absolutely. No,
I mean,
yeah,
like
absolutely.
because we know
It's hard.
It's because it is hard, and so
He was perfect.
We want to sprinkle. We want to add Jesus to what we do,
Yeah.
but we don't want to be more like Him. We want to say, God, this is what I want my life to be, and I want you to co-sign it.
And bless it.
Right.
Yeah, we're not chasing after God. We want Him to chase after us and say, you keep doing what you're doing, and I'll just come alongside you. And so I think that's probably the biggest challenge in anything, that we don't really want to be more like Jesus. We want to drive and put Him in the passenger seat or even in the back seat for that matter. And that's the real challenge. And so we don't always see the benefit because we don't have a culture that says that we see the benefit, because we
Right.
don't talk about that benefit as much.
Yeah.
I don't know that we talk about that much in church, or at least when you're watching on social media. We see the lights, the camera, the action. We see everything in that.
The glory.
But no one really talks about the process.
Yeah.
And then when you get a little bit of what that process is, you go, ooh, I don't want,
No thanks.
I don't want to be. Nope, I'm good, God. Just
Well, I do think there's the perception, well, God's going to send me to be a missionary and I'm going to have to live without my comforts and
Yeah.
or God's going to ask me to do this if I actually really turn my life over to him, and it's going to be this, less than
yeah,
life because we crave our comforts and our no pain and so then I think that causes us to put our hand up and say, I don't want that. I'm afraid of that, even though that's not what he's doing.
yeah.
That's not what it looks like for everyone.
Yep.
And
Or
Yeah.
even pride. I've talked to people in church, believers, strong believers, and they go, I don't want to forgive that person.
right.
I want to hold on to this anger. I want to hold I don't
not
like what they
right.
did to me.
Yeah.
And so I want vengeance. I want revenge. I want to get them. So I don't want to forgive. And so when you feel that way, you can't be more like Jesus if you've made a decision of, no, I want to be angry. I want to be bitter at this person. I'm never going to forgive them, and I'm going to justify not forgiving that person. And it has different amalgamations, but yeah.
Can I say this? I think one of the reasons why we really don't see the benefit is we don't talk to older people. Because if you talk to older people, those
So
that lived a
true.
life that followed after God and
Yeah.
those that didn't, you're going to very quickly go, oh, there's a difference. Because when you talk to the people that are older and that have lived this life and have done it more like Jesus, nobody does it perfect. Man, when you talk to them about the joy that they've got, the relationships they've got, the family that they've got, all the
Yeah.
things around them, and then you look at the people that just did it their own way,
Yeah.
I
let's be
think
honest, they're angry and alone most
Mm-hmm.
of the time. And that's the thing is we never look down the road of what sin brings us to. And I think that's the
yeah.
problem. We never look down the road. We never look down the road of what is this anger and revenge going to lead to? We never look down the road. And so because of that, and I said it this weekend, the enemy loves to show us just in the moment what it brings.
Yeah.
The moment. Just look at the moment. No, look down the road, see what happens. And that's what I'm saying. Like, talk to people that have been there, that have walked through it. They're not going to tell you that it was easy.
Right.
But man, the joy that they've got in their lives, the fact that they still enjoy being alive.
Well, I think
shows
too
you.
their peace. It's like I
Yes.
look at people that they really do have that peace that we're all craving.
Yeah.
Especially in an anxious world
Yeah.
and in all the, I've got to figure this out. I have to have the right answers. I have to protect myself. I have to guard myself. But when you talk to an older person who's walked with Jesus and they have lived out that, they are living in that peaceful place
Yeah.
that really is not just reserved for when you've had a long life with him.
Yeah.
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 It can be now,
Yes.
Yeah.
that we're searching for that peace. And there are some answers there to be found.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
one of the questions we got, right, kind of what we're talking about, beginning with the end in mind when you're going down this journey, is how shared sanctification is the result of continued relationship and obedience over time. But how long does that take? Do you ever reach it? Is there a point of holy sanctification, or is this, what does this look like?
So there's never a point where you're perfect.
Yeah.
No. But is there a point of peace? Absolutely. And I think it's not that it needs to be very far off. It's how much you lean in to it in the moment. Like, I think that's the big thing. And I think that's part of it, though, is part of the sanctification process allows us to get closer to God because the more we understand them, the more we trust them, all of that. But I've seen people dive in, like literally just, especially when they're at the end of it, and they dive in, and man, there's incredible peace in that moment.
Yeah.
There's incredible
So
peace in that
immediately.
next week. You can have that, but then here's the hard part about it: is a lot of times in that moment, it's really easy. And we've talked about this before. To go, I'm giving you everything, God.
Yeah.
But as your week goes on, as your months
Yeah.
go on, there's things that pop back up, and we have to continually make that decision.
Yeah.
But so it's not that there can't be peace in that moment, not that there can't be peace right away, but really, I think that peace is waiting on us to go here. I'm giving that to you, and that's part of the what we walk through, though. But that's part of it. Is many of us, we don't hand it all over. We go, God, I'm going to give you a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Why isn't it better yet? And
Well,
so,
that piece is what we talked about with shalom,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then is M. Kadesh the journey of sanctification? Like, what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, well, yeah, sanctification lifelong. But
Yeah. I mean, the Bible says you're working out your own soul salvation. I mean, that you talked about it earlier. There's a discipline and process that comes with being a kingdom believer. It isn't just you wear the T-shirt and you're good to go.
Right.
It is, man, there are steps I have to take to be and identify as God has called me. I love that the Bible is very consistent and now I'm running back to peace, but it's still part of the sanctification in Philippians 4, which we're going to be talking about in a couple months here. Philippians 4 at the end of chapter 4, verse 8 or 9, I think it says practice these things. It says when you think on whatsoever things are true, what's just, what's of good report, then it says practice them. And so that is sanctification. You got to put those things into practice, because you can have peace immediately, but it doesn't stay.
No.
You got to
good.
practice.
Because something
peace.
else is going to happen.
Yeah, right.
Somebody
So you-
else is going to let you down.
Exactly.
Something else, whatever it is.
Exactly. So when you think about, will you still have challenges? Absolutely. Will there still be circumstances and hard, chaotic things in your life? Absolutely. But you've got to practice that peace over and over again. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and I said, "Man, we were talking about lawyers and doctors, and how can someone be a really good lawyer, really good doctor, and have a horrible marriage? How is that possible?" Well, you spent 12 years in law school. You practiced it. You spent no years in your training for your marriage. So it's where you spend the time is what you'll get better at.
Yeah.
Is what you'll have confidence in.
So good.
And so those areas, when we're talking about anxiety, strife, whatever that is, what are you practicing on a regular basis? And sanctification is that process. I've got to lay some stuff down, and I've got to pick some things up. Peace is a big part you have to pick up. That discipline, the Bible is constantly saying, when we talk about Romans, you have to renew your mind. God says, no, you renew your mind. I provide the resource. God provides the resources. We provide the discipline. God is saying everything you need is available to you, but you got to come get it.
Yeah.
And so that's what the sanctification process is. I'm letting some things go. God is helping me through that process to let them go. And he's making me aware of what those things are, even if I don't see them. Even if I don't recognize them. I think we can talk about us at the table. I think in part that's why we have spouses. They are really good at recognizing stuff we don't see with our own eyes.
Yeah.
And you need, whether you have a spouse or not, you need people in your life that can hold you accountable for things that you cannot see. Freedom does that. The book itself holds you accountable. You may not have been able to see this before. When I took Freedom, there were things I thought I was free from, and then it exposed some things for me. Oh, you're not free from that.
Yeah.
And it almost irritated me because...
Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Because you go, I thought I was free from that.
Right.
But then when you look at it and you go, oh, this is why I was acting like this in this area.
Yep.
Thinking that I was free from this. And so there's processes in my sanctification that I need to work on. Thank you for that. Now I can see that. And so you got to do that over and over. And it's a daily thing. Paul says, I die daily.
Yep.
Right.
So it's not a one-time event and I get there. And so we often look at becoming like Jesus or sanctification. We do vision boards. We put a picture on the wall. I want to lose 50 pounds, and then I'll know that I got there.
Right.
And that's how we think about sanctification. It's like,
If
hey,
I
as soon as
achieve this,
then I'll be
then
there.
I get this.
No, it's a lifelong
Yeah.
process, but it's wonderful if you do it. So
I was, it just reminds me of a statement I heard, so many years ago that I'm not going to say, because then it would point to how many years old I am, how many birthdays I've had. But years and years ago, I heard someone say this, and it just settled into me. And to me, it kind of points to what we're talking about, that the enemy is always going to try to convince us that we have all of God that we need, that we've arrived.
yeah,
Like, if I do this, I've arrived and I'm good.
Yeah.
And she made this statement. She said, I haven't arrived, but I've left. And I think when you are talking, and even when you were referring to religion versus relationship, it's like, if we settle in our relationships, we're like, I have everything I need to know about you, and you're stuck.
yeah.
You're not growing. You're not learning more about that person. You're not able to grow and learn. And that's our relationship with God. So when we when I hear that, I haven't arrived, but I've left, I have an opportunity every day
Yeah.
to leave. To leave where I was and continue on the journey.
Yeah.
But if I get stuck in, well, I'm arrived. I'm free. It's not that we're doing anything wrong, but if
Yeah.
we get stuck in, I've already achieved this, then I'm not leaving anything. I don't think I need God to do anything more in me, or that there's any more relationship that I can discover with Him in my working that out with other people in my life. And so that's my goal. Like, I haven't arrived, but I've left, and I want to leave behind the things that are keeping me from growing every day.
Yeah.
And that sounds overwhelming, but if you take that little tiny step and just make that decision, this is where I want to be, God, that's an invitation.
Yep.
That's the invitation for Him. Now I'm doing my part, and then He comes in and sets me up to choose it,
Yep.
to do my part, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's so good. And I just love, I think, the clarity on this is a continual process.
Yeah.
This is a lifelong journey that you're in with God. So buckle up.
Yeah.
One of the kind of analogies you made was to weeds this weekend. How he talked about the sin in your life is like getting rid of the weeds in your yard. And we've been talking about the garden within a lot, right? The weeds in your yard, and getting rid of the symptoms of sin is like mowing over the weeds.
Yeah.
So a question we got was, what do I do if other people, like my wife, are
Ooh.
telling me about the weeds, but I don't see them?
Listen.
The message for the men,
Hey, it's both sides.
and yes, it goes both ways.
And the
for
women.
sure.
Yes.
And the women.
When their husbands are telling
Yeah.
them, you have these weeds and you
Anyone
don't see
that's
them.
in a relationship, right? With friends, with people, but
Yep.
specifically, we kind of touched on the marital sanctification process.
Absolutely.
And I remember like 3 months before we got married, we were at a wedding, and one of Eddie's friends had just gotten married, like I think 3 months before that. And I said, "How's married life?" And she goes, "It is the greatest sanctification process I have ever experienced." And I didn't even understand what the word meant. I was like,
Okay.
I was like, "Is that a married people thing?" I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what is she talking about? But she made it sound really fun.
Well,
So
you-
anyway,
you
let's
don't-
talk
like
about
I said it.
in
I
your
think a lot of people
relationship.
don't realize that they have an anger problem until they get married. You don't realize
Yeah.
how prideful you are until you get married.
Yeah.
How selfish
Yeah.
you are until you get married. How selfish you are until you get married
Yeah.
and have kids. It's like it reveals so much of it. And so I think you have two choices. You can go, she doesn't know anything, which is the wrong choice, or you lean in and you ask follow-up questions.
Yeah.
You go, where have you seen that? And I think that's the problem, is we don't like it because it's from our spouse. And so you've got to ask, well, how do you see that? Where do you see that? And then hopefully you have some other friends that you can ask that question. Because here's my guess, your friends see it too, but they don't want to tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
There's other people that
True.
see it, but they're either afraid to tell you, or they've just gone, that's who they are. And they've decided that's what it is, but you got to lean in.
Do you think there's also the I don't want to say it because I know I have stuff too, and I don't want you to point out my stuff. So if I point out your stuff, then you're going to start pointing to my stuff, and I don't want to go there. Like, it feels, how do you do that when I know I have things that I need to work on. I know that there are areas in my own life that I need God to transform me. I need to surrender. But then you're in these relationships and you see something in someone else. How do you do that without going, okay, well, I'm just going to point to you now? Or I think that's probably a fear that people deal with, is like, well, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
So what gives me the right or the ability to speak into this other person?
I mean, I think if you really want to grow, you will put people around you that will help you grow, and then give them the authority to speak into your life.
Yeah.
Now you got to set the parameters of what that looks like and sounds like, and how you receive Yeah, I grew up in a very critical household, very critical. So I take feedback well. It doesn't matter in what form it comes in. Just give it to me, because nothing can be worse than the house that I grew up in and how we gave feedback. So,
Wow.
but it is hard getting feedback from your spouse.
Yes.
It's just, I don't care what anybody says. It's hard, but you've got to set the table for it. And so, me and Tracy have put some things together to go, hey, I've got something probably tough that I want to share with you. So can we do something? So we've
That's
got
good.
we've got a couple things that we go through, and we had to, Tracy would say, well, I want you to say it to me like this. And then I would say it to her like this. She's like, I don't like that.
It's always
And
a
so,
moving target.
Yeah, so it's like,
Kind
well,
of.
I just
I
did
love
what you
Tracy.
told me to say, and she's like, yeah, but I don't like how you
I
said
think
it.
it's just hard no
So-
matter what.
Yeah, so it's hard. So
It
you
is.
learn over time, and then you go, well, I can only do this much, or do. So you figure it out. But our goal is to make each other better. She's my purpose partner, and so you've got to have people in your life that go, hey, I give you the right to speak into my life.
Yeah.
And here's how I would want to receive it. But man, I want to get better, and I want to grow. So whether it's a spouse or a friend that's trying to point out some areas that you don't see, there's a weed that actually camouflages itself as the plant it's overtaking. So if when you're standing close to it, you can't even tell that it's a weed. So you have to get perspective. And sometimes the people in your life, because it's you don't know, you can't see it. And
Right.
so your spouse will be like, hey, this is a problem. Oh, I don't see it as a problem. You're too close. So it's good to
Yeah.
have someone that has
That's good.
perspective to go, no, those aren't the same. That's not what you think it is. You didn't say what you thought you said. It's not doing what you thought it was going to do. And that's good to have that person in your life. One, it improves you a lot faster. You can go, all right, let me deal with this as soon as possible so we can get better. Yeah, and I'm not a gardener, but I spend too much time out looking at weeds and learning about weeds, and because my wife likes the lanai. But but you
There's
meet
a
those
lot
people.
of similarities in the plant life, and I mean, God talks about the soil. You know,
Yes.
the parable of the soil, and just there's so many parallels that in nature that
Yes.
point back to God and our walk with Him and the sanctification process.
And you got to take care of it over and over
Yeah.
again, all
You
the way.
it's not you don't mow the grass and then
like,
you never
"We're
have
good."
to mow it
Right.
again,
We're
or
good.
you weed the yard
Yeah.
and
No.
it's clean forever.
Right.
You
And
know,
even-
that's such a picture of what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so important to have other people in your life. Here's a quick story. Tracy's cousin came to spend a week with us last week. I was out of town for a few days. When I came home, she had dug up all this stuff in my lanai, all these plants. And so I come home, Tracy's like, you got to go and look at the lanai and look at the stuff we've done around the pool. And I go out there and I'm like, she's pulled up all the plants. And she goes, yeah, they weren't healthy.
Ah.
She's like, this is what I do. Those plants weren't healthy. They may have looked healthy, but when you get close to them, they didn't smell right. Their colors were off. They're supposed to look like this.
Wow.
When she showed me what they were supposed to look like, and I didn't know. I'm going out there. I'm trimming things that are bad.
Trying to make them look
Yeah,
good.
trying to because I'm
Managing
going.
sin.
And does it smell bad to me? Sure, but I don't know what plants are supposed to smell like. So I'm thinking this is normal. And so
I don't want to sit out here because it smells bad, but
Yes.
it looks pretty.
But it
If
looks
you
right.
squint and hold your nose, it's a beautiful garden.
So it took someone who was an expert
Yeah.
to come in and go, no, you're not saying what you think you're saying. It's not what you think it is. And sometimes we've made weeds look pretty. And we've done that in our own lives, and we've dressed them up. And I was doing that for months in my own yard, making weeds look pretty, making plants that had gone sour look beautiful. And she came in and go, no, you got to take this out. And you have to keep this process going because there still may be some root down in the bottom of there that I didn't get. And so you've got to be aware of that. And having that other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important.
And
Well, that's why
Dang.
sometimes we have counselors. They're important.
Yeah.
Marriage counselors, all those things. I just want to talk to the other side of it, of kind of what you were talking about, Kristen. I think one of the things is when we receive feedback, we must resist the urge to go on the attack.
yeah.
We must resist the urge to then just point it out. Not that what we're about to say is wrong, because sometimes it's right. But we must resist that urge. And two, it is wrong to hold on to something for when somebody else brings something else out. So
Yeah.
let me just say that. Like, and so if you're holding on to something, and the only time it'll ever come out is when somebody accuses you of something else.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Right.
You're a
That's
bad
just a
friend.
defense
Yes,
mechanism.
that's not.
Yeah.
You're not being what Christ has asked you to do, which is
Yeah.
to bring those things up, which is not easy. It becomes way easier to point out people's faults when they're pointing out yours.
Yeah.
It becomes way easier. It's way easier just to let things go and feel fine, peaceful. It's peaceful. Yeah, but it's getting ready not to be. It's getting ready. Like
Right.
sooner or later, it's going to grow into something else that you're going to have to dig it up and get. Like you may have to destroy your whole yard
Yeah.
to deal with it. Versus if you just would have plucked it out in the beginning. And so it's very easy. Like you said, man, it can look good. My lawn right now, it's a lot of weeds, but when it's cut close,
It looks good.
it doesn't look that bad.
It looks like grass.
It looks like grass. Now, what's funny is when winter comes around, I have random patches throughout because those weeds only grow in the summer.
Yeah.
True.
And so you see it really quick at certain times when you don't see it in others. And so when we see it, we've got to react to it. Because if not, it's going to create a problem.
It's so good.
Man,
And
that's such a good analogy.
I love your story. I think you could have gotten really defensive. You come home and all your plants are ripped up. You could have been pissed.
Yeah.
I paid for those. Those are important to me. I love those plants. But instead, you were open to the expert opinion, open to allowing the work to happen in your home. Like, I think.
And
the
part of
analogy's
that
fantastic.
was her, not even me. It was her approach to me because
Yeah.
she's such a happy person. And she was like, look at what I did, and I did this, and because at first look, I was like, yo,
This doesn't feel right.
you pulled up all my plants. And she was like, yes, but let me tell you. So it was all about the approach. She set the table for me.
Yeah. She
And
was
when-
inviting you to see something that you couldn't see.
Exactly.
With your understanding. And I think in the sanctification process, when someone is coming to you and bringing that, there's got to be that, like, I care about you. And I think the hard
Yeah.
part is in some of these dynamics, it's like, I'm causing you pain, so you're going to tell me how I'm causing you pain. And
Yeah.
then we're just in this together.
Yeah.
But if you can look at that person and know, I know they love me. I know they're praying for me. Like, these are my friends. This is my small group. They want the best for me. But how do we invite others into that excitement
Yeah.
that we've experienced when we know where we're getting to that joy and we're experiencing peace? And that you talked so much about, like, it's a better way. Jesus
Yes.
is inviting us into the best way to live.
Yes.
And we only see what is right in front of us.
Yeah.
And he is looking at all of this ahead of us. And we think we know and we think we're smart, but how do we take that invitation, and then how do we extend it to others who maybe aren't there? They're
Yeah.
just beginning the journey and they're just starting, and it's scary. And they think, I did this. Look at how good I did. And for those that are more mature or more along in the journey to not go, yeah, but you got all of this you got to get.
Yeah.
Like, you're okay, you did one thing, but like, look at all this stuff. No, we got to celebrate
Yes.
the journey in others, and it's not on me to accelerate that. You know, it's not on me to try to force it on someone else. You know, how do I invite and encourage and be someone that can show them there is I haven't figured it all out. I haven't arrived.
Yeah.
But I have some experience that I want to share with you.
Yeah.
So,
It's good.
That's
And
awesome.
you will only be able to celebrate when you are in a good place.
yes,
And so if you don't have the ability to celebrate, you really have to look at yourself.
that's so true.
Because if you feel the need every time somebody does something better to point out what they haven't done yet,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yep.
That's a problem. And because we need wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need wins. And I've heard this so many times in marriages. I don't feel like I'm doing anything right. Well, that's a problem because you're probably doing a couple things right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you can't at least celebrate those or talk about those, then you give up. Because if I'm not doing anything right, then there's no point.
Yeah.
Because I apparently can't do this.
Right.
But yeah, we got to have something.
It's good.
Well, we have, as I said last week, many more questions and not many more minutes. So let's do closing thoughts. Closing thoughts on sanctification, drawing near to God, pulling out the weeds in your life. If you guys have anything you want to share, Pastor Chris and I'd love to hear your closing thoughts on what they can take away and apply and implement.
I'm going to tell a little story. I had a conversation with someone recently who is in a really tough situation. And this goes to the sanctification that we wouldn't choose it. I wouldn't choose this journey or this hard thing I'm going through for God to do this work in me. Can I just have the shortcut?
Yes.
And she said something, I wouldn't trade. I know this sounds really strange. She said, I wouldn't trade what I've gone through, which is really hard, if I had to give up this new thing that God is showing me and how I'm leaning into him and experiencing his presence in my life in this way. And from the outside looking in, like I have experiences in my own life that I've had that, and I can go, okay, yes, when I went through, yes, I can see that. But we wouldn't pick these things.
Yeah.
Right.
We look at other people and go, I'm glad I'm not going through what they're going through, but we can't actually see what we're going through.
Yeah.
But the thing that I walked away with is, she said, I'm believing for a miracle for this person that's caused me this pain. And I walked away and I thought, well, I understand how she can believe for a miracle, because anytime any of us surrenders anything, our opinion, our pride, I just want to pursue this quick fix. Anytime we surrender anything, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I can surrender. That's my part. The miracle part is that God is giving us what we need. He gives us his Holy Spirit. He gives us the word of God that gives us direction. But I just walked away going, wow, she would not trade this present pain for what God is doing in her, in his relationship with her.
That's wonderful.
And that's like, that invited me to see it a different way.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
That was awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think she hit the nail on the head.
I think she did.
You have to add.
That's it.
Well, I'll add just not because she didn't hit the nail on the head,
Okay, how?
but because I just want to put two plugs out there. One, get in a group.
yes.
If you don't
Don't
have
go
your
alone.
people, you
Yes.
need to find your people. We don't talk about it all the time just because we don't get kickbacks. None of us. I don't think so. None of us do. That's not about it at all. We really, really want the best for your life, and we
Yes.
want that. And I'll just say this for guys, this is the hardest, I believe, many times for us. We like to do this on our own. And when it comes to sanctification, understanding these things, I feel like it is very confusing out in the world right now what it looks like to be a biblical man. What does that look like? And so one group, but two, guys, I am really excited about the speakers that we have for Man Event. John Tyson and Jefferson Bethke, their entire platform right now is what does it look like to be a man of God, biblical manhood? What does it look like to be a father, all that kind of stuff. They are not the shiny names like we've had in the past. They are actually very up and coming, but they are very, very good at that. So if you haven't signed up for Man Event yet, actually, wives, since you're the one that's going to do it anyway, go ahead and sign him up and get that done because we need that stuff in our life.
Yeah.
And as men, I'll just say it very straightforward. We need to be smacked sometimes. Sometimes when we're just told, we're like, I'm good. It needs to come at us straight, but we also need to see the hope of what's possible on the other side. So, yeah.
Awesome. So get in a group, get to Man Event, and sit down with your partner and tell them everything that's wrong with them. I think that's what we'll take away from
That's
today.
how we're wrapping this up.
Thank you guys
Tracy.
for coming to another episode of the Pastor's Hangover. Thank you guys
Thanks for having
being
me.
with us, and we will see you all next week.